Evening. Okay, so now it's week 14, right? Yeah, now it's week 14. So happy to know that we have less than 20 days. No, sorry, less than 14 days, right? Less than 2 weeks time to have our final exam. Wow, so it means I'm going to see you in our final exam in the next 2 weeks. So our as you schedule in the timetable, so our final exam will be on 26th June, right? Yeah, 26th June morning. Right, morning, early in the morning, you will see me again. So before we talk about our something like revision for today class. So how's your online quiz last week? So far so good. So far so good, right? Yeah, that's what I see. I see the mark also so far so good. Right? So all go to maximum already. Well, so there is an online quiz just help you to for you to do your revision. So what we're going to cover in, so as we notice that for our continuous assessment, lab test, and then our group assignment, and then for this group assignment here, so have you all done? Yeah, on the way? Not yet? Because they have 4 more days to go. Right, because the due date is Friday, Friday, right? So by this Friday, so please upload your group assignment in the Spectrum before the due date. Standard because the Spectrum always down. So please upload your group assignment, submit your group assignment because it carries 15%, and also your presentation which carries 10%. So please complete these 2 continuous assessment. Then we did our online quiz last week, so 15% done. Then 20% going to release after breaks later. So now we will like to discuss about our final exam. So before we go to the something like detail for our revision, so the format for our final exam will be 40%. So the weightage will be 40%, right? Because our continuous assessment is 20 plus 30, 15 plus 10 is already 60% for our continuous assessment mark. So 60% already, so far we have recovered. Then remaining one is 40%, which going to for you to achieve it in the next 2 weeks is 40% for our final exam. So what is the format? So the format for this final exam is very simple, structural question. So very straightforward structural question. So we're going to have 3 structural questions. 3 structural questions. So the structural means that not an essay part. So structural means short and simple, right? Short and simple. So for the 40%, we're going to have 3 structural. We're going to have 3 structural questions. Only 3. So only 3 questions, but you're going to have a sub question. So we're going to have a sub question like your online, like your lab test, right? We're going to have an A, B, C, like. So sub question. So 3 questions with a sub question, and then you all have to finish within 2 hours. Within 2 hours time. So it's a very it's an open book, right? So anything means that what material you can bring is your lecture notes, right? You can bring all your lecture notes and then your reference books, but it's offline. Okay, so please bring your offline lecture notes. So please print means that you have to print it out, right? Make it hard copy, print it out. Soft copy is not allowed during the final exam, right? Because I think majority of you is the first semester, right? So not means that soft copy is not allowed during the final exam. Only hard copy. Open book, but it's a hard copy only allowed to bring into the final exam hall. So where is the final exam hall? Is next to the KL gate. You know where is KL gate? No. Yeah. Good. Even though first semester, right? So you also know where is KL gate, right? So we have a like the online something like the lecture notes, your reference book, then the journal article you also can print it out. You can print it out for your journal articles. Then you're also allowed to bring the calculator, right? So you have to bring your calculator and also your stationery, your stationery. So bear in mind that the handphone calculator is not allowed during the final exam. Yeah, don't rely on the handphone calculator. So handphone calculator is not allowed, and please make sure your calculator is with enough battery, right? Because last semester the student bring a lot of calculator, right? 2 to 3 as a backup, but all none is an empty battery. So please make sure your calculator is enough battery. Okay. So to be safe, you can change the battery first before to go to the final exam. So anything else you want to ask for the final exam? Yes. Yeah. The final exam also will provide you the statistical table. Yeah. So anything we'll provide to you is a question paper and then also the statistical tables. Right? Only two only. So you all need to bring your own lecture notes. You all need to bring your own something like your own written note. Also no problems. Dictionary you also can bring. Yeah. So you can bring anything, but don't bring too many because there's a limited space, right? And idea is please prepare before go to the exam hall, because even though it's an open book, so I think some of you already experienced, even though it's an open book, but it's I think it's you have enough time to search for the answer on the spot. So please prepare before you go to the final exam, even though it's an open book, because there is some challenges like with the open book test, because it's the answer cannot come from the will not come. The answer will not easily obtained from the lecture notes or any reference book. Yeah, that is the called open book test, right? So anything you want to ask?
Do we have past year exam paper for reference?
I also don't have past year. Yeah, the past year also has I don't have past year actually. So you can try the experience next 2 weeks, right? So you see what you're going to be in your final exam question. So a little bit challenge, right? Yeah. So motivate you to go to the exam hall and see what is the question. So more or less, because it's time for us to do something like review back what we have covered in the past. So as recall, we cover from a time series, then we go to the panel, right? So our question will going to be have three type of question, 3 questions. So you still, even though we will not, our exam is not in the lab, but you still can see our EViews output. Yeah. So the important thing here, you need to know how to read the EViews output. Okay, even though if you are so happy, right, you need to use the PC or computer to run the analysis, but you still have a high 100% possibility to see the EViews output in the final exam for the course for this subject. So please go through and then see how to read the EViews output from the something like interpret the EViews output. So more or less we are not a mathematics class. So that's why we not something like ask you to bring the very complicated calculator. So if you need something like just like a simple calculation, if there is a need of simple calculation, but we more emphasize on interpretation. Okay, interpretation. That's the thing. So okay, so what's good? Yes. Yeah, 3 structural. 3 structural only. Yes. So going to be 10%, 15, and 15. So 10 plus 15 plus 15 equals to 40. Yeah, theory. Yeah, it's not. It's because econometric is combination of the theory, right, and also interpretation of the result. So our practice is we not only test on the theory, we also test on this what kind of interpretation also. choose which is the best model, right? Based on the, for example, for the panel. So this kind of something like critical, not so critical thinking. So like ask you, the question will not straightforward. Will ask you about this kind of question. Yeah. So that's things. So let's see the way when we go through this, not say revision because we already go through this. Even though it's very short, just have less than 14 minutes we go through. So far we have, like I said just now, we have a go through like from time series, then we slowly move to the panel, right? So slowly move to the panel. So actually you all have, you need to know what is the advantages. For example, using the time series, right? Then what actually motivates you to proceed with the panel? So the motivation to use the panel actually referring to the advantages, right? So actually, what are the motivation for you to proceed with the panel analysis? So I hope you all can differentiate between the time series and the panel, right? That's why you can score well, right, in your online quiz. So that's the things the difference between time series and panel. So then from this time series, we also talk about this stationarity and also the wall, right? So when we talk this about the stationarity and the wall, we highlight about the spurious regression, right? Spurious regression, actually, what motivates you to adopt something like co-integration test to test, right? And also the unit root test to test our series because of this spurious regression. So what is spurious regression? We in the econometric apply a range of a variety of these diagnostic tests, a variety of these stationary tests, for example, like ADF in the time series, ADF and MPP, KPSS, as well as unparalleled test to complement into complementary result and then to diagnose the series, whether it's I1 or I0. If there is an I1 series, then you have to adopt the what we say proceed with the co-integration or the method that accommodate this I1 series, right? So how about if there is a no co-integration for I1 series? If there is a no co-integration, then we have to first difference the series, then only can proceed to run something like OS regression, right? Because if there is a no co-integration, then we cannot something like what we say like ARDL. If there is a no co-integration, there is a no point for us to proceed with the co-integration test as well as the error correction model. That is the discussion in the literature. So we have to first, the idea is we have to first difference the series, then make the series stationary. Then in order to avoid this spurious regression. So you have to understand what is the motivation behind the spurious regression, right? Because we have to avoid this, so we have to use the test like the stationary test or unit test to test the series. So that's we cover in the week number 2. Besides that, we also introduce you the concept of causality, right? So this causality is a Granger causality we propose. Actually, it's the original one is proposed by Granger. So for this causality, actually another not only see the direction to the predictability of the series from X to Y or Y to X. Actually, one of the motivation behind this causality is want to see whether the variable is it endogenous or not, right? For example, if I run the regression Y as my dependent on the X, so I will suspect that the direction for causality is from X to the Y, right? So X to the Y means X to the dependent variable Y. So let's say there is another, for example, like a feedback relationship, not only from X to Y, then to Y to the X, then what happened? Actually, there's a feedback relationship, right? So it indirectly hints to us that actually our univariate regression model is not so is not valid anymore because my X now, one of my independent variable now, actually is what we say become endogenous already because the Y greater cause the X. So there is in the literature say that if that is the case, you have to question about the endogeneity issue, right? Is it the Y really a dependent variable or X also can become dependent variables if there is a feedback relationship between the X and the Y? So that is the things we use the Granger causality to test it. So we introduce you I think I still remember the example we use in the lecture is whether the interest rate greater cost the M or M greater cost the interest rate, right? So we estimate the money demand function, the M as our dependent. Let's say the M greater cost the interest rate. Is it the interest rate means that no longer valid as an independent variable since the M greater cost the interest rate now. So that is the endogeneity issue discussed in the literature on the by using the causality to confirm this result. Then we also proceed to this coordinate equation. So by the way, in using this causality, we have to make sure the series is stationary. Either is first difference stationary or level stationary, right? So let's say you for the variable x and y, if they are if these two series are already stationary in level, then we just proceed with the level causality test. If let's say the series is non-stationary, then we have to first difference the series, then proceed with test. Then only proceed to test for the causality. So the idea behind gradual causality is the series has to be either level stationary or first difference stationary. If not, we'll provide you the spurious result. Then in the week number 3, we proceed to cover about this coordinate equation, either using Johansson or also or by using this R test. So I hope when you go, because you already go through this lab test, right? So I hope you still can recall back how to perform this ARDL models, right? ARDL test. Actually, the purpose for ARDL is one to test whether the series are then coordinated in the long run or not, right? So the feature of this ARDL is allowing for the mixture of this I1 and I0 series. So I1, I0 variable, what it means? It means that y, for example, I have two variables, y and x. So my x can be stationary at level or stationary at first difference. So by using ARDL, it means that if this have a mixture I1, I0, as long as my dependent variable is I1, then my independent variable is I1 or I0, then I can proceed with you by using this ARDL, because the feature of this ARDL is allowing for mixture of I1 and I0 series. So how about if I1, I1? If my dependent variable is I1, my independent variable x also I1, then this we can proceed with this what we say the standard Johansson coordinate equation test. So that is the difference between the ARDL and the standard coordinate equation test. We also have one Angel-Granger, right? So remember in our lab test, ask you to perform that univariate coordinate equation, right? Single equation to the coordinate equation test by using the Angel and Granger. So there's another approach to the coordinate equation. So that is we cover here. And also the error correction term, right? Error correction model, which is useful for us to see the short run impact on the dependence variables. So that's why we have a short run and long run. Yeah, this ARDL we cover in this week. Then after that we proceed to the panel. So in this panel, we not only introduce you the least square dummy variable to the fixed effect model, we also have the pool least square as well as the random effect model, and the different diagnostic tests to distinguish between these three different estimators, which including the Busch-Bachan LM test, and also Hausman test, and also the fixed effect test, and also random effect, if I'm not mistaken. So these are the tests, these are the things we cover here. And what interesting with the fixed effect and random effect is they're allowing for the fixed effect in the estimation, right? Because the difference, you have to know the feature behind the pool OS, the feature behind the fixed effect, and the feature behind the random effect model. If you ask me about, is it going to cover the theory in the final exam? Sure, right? Because we have to understand about the feature, right? Their feature in for each estimator. For example, for the pool OS, is ignore about the panel structure. It's because they pull them gun test, and then the Houseman test we also cover here in the week 6. Then we also perform something like the diagnostic test, the autocorrelation test, and also heteroscarcity test. If that is the something like what we say, if our model suffering from autocorrelation and heteroscarcity, how we're going to solve it? We can use the UV vest, right, to adjust for their standard error. Because once we know if there is autocorrelation and heteroscarcity, the variance of this problem estimate as well as their standard error will be biased. So we have to use the UV vest to adjust their standard error to get rid from this issue in this autocorrelation and heteroscarcity. Then not only in the time series, in the panel we also talk about this spurious regression, right? So we have to test because in this POOS fixed effect random effect, we just introduce you three different estimators, but we did not talk about this spurious regression. So just like the time series, we also can use this what we say the unit test, but in a panel format. So in a panel format, no longer is NDF, no longer is the KPSS or the unparalleled we introduced in the time series, because the panel unit test got their own econometrization, right, to accommodate to test for the stationarity of the series. So they can differentiate into two, either assuming for cross-sectional independence as well as allowing for cross-sectional dependence like the CIPS and the panic test, right, by and own testing. So you have to know how to actually what we highlight here, you know how to report the result, right? You have to know how to report because once I already knows that you already go through this lab test and then also the group assignment discussion. So you all know at least how to read the EVS output, right? How to know how to read the EVS output, either is significant or not significant, right? Either it's based on the p-value or based on the critical value. So, and also you have to know which test is to test for which hypothesis. If the question asks you to write down the hypothesis, please write it clearly, right? If let's say ask you to write down the rationale, like what you're doing in the lab test, ask you to write the rationale, please write the rationale clearly, right? So for example, what is the rationale? What is the null hypothesis for the ARDL? It's a no co-integration, right? So please write down clearly. So don't write it, don't say something like if no co-integration, don't write then no autocorrelation, right? So there are two different things. So please write it clearly. What is the rationale? And also, if the question asks you to show the statistic, please show the statistic. Right? If the question asks, is it got co-integration? Then you just say yes, there is co-integration. So if you answer like that, so for example, the mark is 1 mark, then perhaps you just achieve that 0.25, right? If you say yes, there is a co-integration because if the statistic is reject the hypothesis at how many percent, for example, because econometric is much more focused on the interpretation, right? Interpretation. So please complete provide the statistic to support your argument. So that's the thing. If the question asks, is there any big difference between the result, then you say yes to stop. But the mark allocate is 5 marks. Then should we have any reason, right, to support your argument? Why you say that there is a very big difference in the result? So you have to provide the justification. Why? Because the mark allocate is 5 marks, for example. So yes or no, you have to provide a justification. So that's the thing. Then we also discuss about this non-stationary panel, right? Non-stationary panel, including like the panel co-integration test. So because just like the time series, we also have the co-integration test in the panel format, like the proposed by Petroni, proposed by Gao, proposed by Johansson. The combination of these means that the Freedom test, right? So combination. So you all know how to read the test, and also the null hypothesis. Then because of this mixture of I1, I0 again, so we have the panel ARDL. And this panel ARDL is allowing us to see the whether they are variable of interest, the I1 series, are they co-integrated in the long run or not by using this panel ARDL, right? This Pumin group, another way is called Pumin group. So not only that, you also have to aware the issue. What are the issues? What are the challenges in the panel? If the question, for example, asks about, because we discussed a lot much more advantage, right? Advantage compared to the static model approach. So you have to understand and then put in your justification why you prefer the dynamic model instead of the static models, right? So after that is the linear versus non-linear. If you think that the non-linear, like for example, like the threshold model, right? Because you can see, for example, the corruption on the economic growth. Once the corruption achieves certain value, going to have a negative impact on the economic growth, right? If just a minimal corruption, it still have a positive impact on the economic growth. But once it's too much corruption, and the institution is actually corrupted, it's too much, then going to have a negative impact on economic growth. So this is something like the discussion in the literature lah. That's why linear is actually have some limitation as compared to the non-linear. So not only that, micro, macro, these all the challenges lah, the issue in this panel as well as time series. If the question asks you about the challenges, right? So you give you a scenario is a panel, then ask you about the challenges. Then you can think about that. Actually, what are the challenges? Is it you're going to think about the model specification? Is it you want to talk about this linear versus non-linear, or you want to talk about this static versus dynamic, right? So it's an open question. If this kind of question asks you, it is open actually. So there's no correct or wrong answer. It's open, so you can discuss anything you like, right? If you give a scenario like that, what are the challenges you think? So it's open question. So that's the things you can discuss also, right? So okay, so any question to ask? So this is the things that we cover in the past 13 weeks, right? Including our synchronized learning and also our offline recorded video. So okay, so what we have covered so far actually is you also need to know what is the difference between ARDL and also the WAR, right? So what's the difference between that ARDL and WAR? So ARDL is a single equation, right? Then the WAR is a vector autoregressive. So what is the difference between that? So you can figure out the difference between the single equation, like what we discussed about the engine-for-engine cointegration versus the Johansson, right? What is a system? They are system to the cointegration. Johansson is a system to the cointegration, but the ARDL is a single equation to the cointegration. So what are the advantage? What are their advantage, right? And what are their limitation? Is it same? Different, right? Because one is a single equation to the cointegration, but another one, Johansson, is a system into the cointegration approach. So you can take into account that, for example, you have differentiate what's the difference between them, right? And actually, each of the tests got their own advantage, right? So and also got their limitation. That's why there is the issue they have to be bear in mind. Then in the panel, I still remember when we do something like interpretation from the result, right? Our lab test. We not only ask you about is it the fixed effect better than the random effect, right? You can base on Hausman test, right? Then talk about is it the pool, is it better than the fixed? You can base on the discrete dummy variable approach. Then how about if the question asks you to calculate the individual fixed effect, right? This is something like it's very fair question, right? So you can figure out how you compute, right? This is what we go through like in our exercise about this individual fixed effect, and and also as I mentioned just now, the short run, long run, right? The short run, long run, then how you differentiate, right? Differentiate between the short run, because when I go through the lab test answer, so maybe it's a warm up, right? So it's not so something like comfortable yet with all this short run, long run. Perhaps it can take time to figure out how to read the inverse output from the short run result, in the mark in the Excel.
Oh.
Yeah, I also too much holiday. So I want to key in. I already finished marking. So give me 30 minutes more, then you can get to know your lab test as well as your online quiz. Online quiz already come out already. Just a quiz, just a lab test. Sorry, lab test. Okay. So you can take a break. So long break, not only 7. So anything want to ask me? Have you finished up your group assignment? Oh yes.
Sorry for the final exam. There's no need to run the email. Just interpret based on
I cannot hear the question.
we don't need to run the emails on.
Oh no. The final exam in the exam hall, and then the exam hall only got one paper and one chair. No PC. So you don't need to bring your own lab. You don't need to bring any digital. No need to bring any laptop. So you just bring your stationery and also your calculator and also your material. Offline material. Means the hard copy. Okay. So no need to run any analysis, but you have possibility to see your e-views output. So that's why I ask you to familiar yourself with to read the e-views output. Okay? So we're not going to have our final exam in the computer lab. It's a physical handwriting. So remember to bring your pen, yeah? So I understand that your lab test you did not bring a pen, right? So remember to bring your pen during your final. Okay? So we come back here. So I will try to. So you want to finish up the group assignment? Group assignment. Have you done? Oh, good. Done already. I saw just 4 group assignments submitted. Huh? Yeah, because I just saw 4 submitted online. And then how about your video? Don't forget your video. Done. Done is good. So not done, please go ahead. And then give me 20 minutes. I want to key them up. And any question, please come here. Then please wait for a while. We still can discuss something. You want to ask me, please come here. If no, then you want to go back home?
Yeah.
So if you come and you go through the days and you ask me, then ask me.